The search for a 14-year-old boy swept away by floods continued in Ladysmith today. Storms battered most of the province, including the Drakensberg. Over 100 people have been evacuated. Siphamandla Goge is in Ladysmith. He joins us now live. Sipa, let's start with the latest on the search and rescue that is happening for this 14-year-old who's gone missing.
Well, this morning that search and rescue continued, but nothing much came out of it really. The boy has not been found. He is still missing. 30 minutes ago we were with his mother. Told us that she's still devastated. She hopes there would be some movement and some positive news, whether bad or good. All she wants now is closure. She reiterated that point when we met her 30 minutes ago. So as we speak, the boy has not been found. He is still missing. He was last seen on Friday being swept away by water inside that river, Klip River. His friends were there. They tried to rescue him, but of course, at that time, the water levels were too high. The levels have decreased now. The mother is hopeful that at least the search and rescue will be able to continue now that the water levels have decreased, and she is hoping that at least by the end of the week there will be some positive news. It's one of the devastating stories and angles of these floods in Ladysmith, really. You are talking about the impact when it comes to business and homes that have been destroyed by the floods, but in terms of human life, that's where it hits hard, even though there is no official confirmation of any life that has been lost. But that person, that teenager, is still missing as we speak. And the entire community of eZakheni is trying to help the mother to look for the missing boy.
Yeah, it is, of course, going to be a very difficult time for the mother. Let's talk then about the situation in Ladysmith right now. Looking behind you, it looks like the town is actually coming alive again. But there is a call for it to be declared a disaster area. What's the DA saying about this?
Well, the DA says they will support that call and that move to declare Ladysmith a disaster area. Behind me, what you see is Machisin Street. Machisin is the main street here in Ladysmith. There appears to be some sort of normalcy that has returned. Economic activity, about 10% of it has returned here in Ladysmith. I'm talking about Machisin Street being the main street, but it's totally different on the other side of Ladysmith. You see this main street being operational now. Even during the flooding, it was the only street that was operational across Ladysmith. All other streets were flooded and mop-up operations are still underway. But this one gives a glimpse of some hope to say things are getting back to normal. Yes, indeed, there are growing calls for Ladysmith to be declared a disaster area following the floods. About 6 schools did not open yesterday when the rest of the schools were opening across KwaZulu-Natal. And I can tell you that those 6 schools were really badly affected by the floods. In fact, one of them, Siphamandla High School, had the roof in one of the blocks being blown away. A number of classes there will not come into action anytime soon. That simply means some learners had to be sent back home. But the DA, they were visiting Ladysmith today on an oversight visit. Their provincial leader, Francois Rogers, was leading the delegation there on oversight. He's also a member of the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Legislature. He says they will support a move for this town to be declared a disaster area. Let's take a listen.
Needs to be declared a disaster area. My assessment at the moment is that this could well have been prevented. It appears that the dam wall is not the correct size or height that it should be, and the water that's being released from the dam, plus the subsequent poor maintenance of the floodplain in the direction the water should follow, which is a municipal problem, that in itself has led to what we see, to the devastation on the ground.
All right, Siphamandla is in Ladysmith. Let's go to Okhohlamba local municipality. That's where Dasen Thathiah is following the story for us. Dasen, just tell us how this area has been impacted by the floods.
Well, Shahan, if you looked around today, you'd wonder exactly what happened here because the sun was shining. It looks absolutely beautiful. If you know this area, you'd know what it looks like. But that wasn't the case yesterday and the day before. That's when there were extremely heavy rains, and it caused all sorts of problems here in the area. In fact, there were reports of some community members being stranded on opposite ends of a bridge. They couldn't access the local hospital. Others were washed away. We just received information now that a fourth person has drowned. There were 3 others that we had heard about. Their bodies were recovered by the disaster management teams working in this area. A 4th person is being recovered as we speak now. And that's been the death toll so far as this information is being collated. I want to bring into the conversation now Mr. Freddie Halgreen. He's the head of disaster management services here in Okahlamba. Freddie, talk to me about what it was like being on the ground over the past 2 days. I know the heaviest of the rains was yesterday. What did you pick up? Where were the problem areas?
You know, with the heavy rain that we've been having in the area since the 2nd of January, we've had extremely high volumes of ground saturation. And with the cloudburst come storm that we had yesterday afternoon in the East area, it was just a runoff. There was no penetration of water into the ground, and that is what caused most of the flash flooding that we had yesterday afternoon and during the night.
Lots of homes destroyed, as far as we understand. We were out on the field today, and we were noticing that that many of them were partially destroyed or completely destroyed. Do we have a number yet of households affected?
I've still got 4 disaster management teams out in the field. Preliminary reports show anything between 200 and 300 at this stage, but I do expect the number to rise, and we're looking to have a total assessment done by hopefully tomorrow afternoon.
And just talk to me briefly about the drownings that took place. Do we know the circumstances around these 4 drownings?
Yes, the first drowning was plus minus 10 days ago. The person was a 28-year-old male. He apparently visited one of the local watering holes and then tried to cross one of the bridges that was flooded at that stage. He was subsequently dragged off the bridge and he drowned. It's his body that we recovered this morning very early. Then yesterday afternoon we had 2 gentlemen that was harvesting sand next to a dam. The one gentleman walked into the dam to wash his hands, and he got himself into trouble, and a helper that went to help him got into trouble as well, and they both drowned. Their bodies were recovered yesterday afternoon by Okahlamba Disaster Management, as well as SAP's Dive Unit Bergville and K9 Unit Ladysmith. And the 4th person, the reports are still very sketchy. My teams are out at the moment still recovering the body, but it seems like it was a male, and he was found in one of the upper areas of the Drakensberg in a river.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Halgreen. I appreciate that. Shahan, we did also speak to the mayor earlier, and he says that those that have been affected by these storms will be provided with temporary accommodation. They're also looking at long-term plans because a lot of the houses that were damaged are mud structures, and that is obviously not appropriate or would not work well under the kind of conditions that we've been seeing recently, especially with these heavy rains and the ground being that saturated.
Yeah, it's such a sad story to see the devastation and how people are going through all of this. Thanks for the update. Our senior reporters, Dasen Thathiah and Siphamandla Goge.